Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Forgot to put the camera up. That was clever, wasn't it? Anyway, it's up now. It's up now. You can see me now, I think. Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good evening. No, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So everything's just gone batshit crazy in the Nancy Guthrie case, hasn't it? So we've had absolutely no information really for months. And then suddenly, probably because we're at the 6-month marker, if you like, it's been 6 months. Can you believe it? Half a year since Nancy Guthrie disappeared without a trace from her house, and all that was left was blood spatter on the porch. That's it. Anyway, and information, apart from the first couple of weeks that were a little bit more frenetic, with press conferences, arrests, or not arrests, but detainments. We felt like this case surely wasn't going to take long to be solved. And then here we are 6 months later, doesn't seem to be any further on this case. Anyway, in this week, building up to the 6-month anniversary, if you like, what other way can you say it? There's been like a bit of a frenzy of activity and information released. Sheriff Nanos from Pima County Sheriff's Office. Oh, he's done interview after interview this week. He's done at least 3, and he did another one last night or yesterday, and we're going to watch that. And suddenly all this information is coming out that we didn't have before. Now, what's the reason for that? Why now? Why give out all this information now and not before, like releasing the ransom notes exactly as they were received? Talking more about the camera photographs, the door cam, etc. Now saying nobody's ruled out, not even the family is ruled out. Could be a member of the family. I think most of our money is on it being something to do, if not with a member of the family, but at the very least someone who actually knew Nancy. Could be an extended member of the family. It could be just somebody that had intimate knowledge of her house. We saw from that door cam, this person's very comfortable around Nancy's house. He didn't look panicked, he didn't look nervous. He looked completely comfortable. That was my impression. And now we learn that we still don't know actually what night those camera sort of stills and the video were taken. We don't know that those videos were taken on the night that Nancy went missing. Had this person been there before and cased the joint? Maybe it isn't someone who's intimate with Nancy, but they'd been there, that was familiar with Nancy's property, but they had just been there to case the joint. So this is where we are. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to chat about all of it. I hope you'll let me know what you think. I, of course, will let you know what I think. But ultimately, I have my opinions, but I have no clue really what happened any more than anybody else. But we all have our instincts. And, somebody's correct. One of us is correct. Whether your instinct is it something to do with the family, or your instinct is she was kidnapped by a wrench gang. There's been a lot of talk about that. Or she was kidnapped and taken to Mexico, or it's all about Savannah, really, a famous daughter. Whatever your instinct is, you could be right. I could be right. You could be right. We just have no clue, do we? I mean, I do feel that 6 months later, we are no further on. You just have to hope that the FBI or the Sheriff's Department, that they are further on and they're just waiting for that last bit of information. We have to hope that that's true at least. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. There's been media releases from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. As I say, a new interview from Sheriff Nanos, where he virtually says that the family are not excluded. It just feels in this past week, there's been more developments or more information revealed than in the last 5 months, because apart from the first couple of weeks after the case first broke, after this first happened, there's been nothing really, has there, from official sources? It's all been speculation, people trying to get Sheriff Nanos removed from his position, because he seems to be a pretty crap sheriff. Is he? I don't know, but he was elected by the people. So anyway, the attempt to remove him failed, so he'll be there until the next election. Whether he chooses to stand for re-election or not, that's up to him. Also, he's, no offense to him, because he's very well for his age. He's bobbing on a little bit. I mean, isn't he in his late 70s now? He looks very well for it. I think he's 78. Looks great. He does. And because he's an elected official, of course, he can carry on for as long as he wants. It's not like he's an employee of the Sheriff's Department. They probably have a retirement age. He hasn't got a retirement age, so he could be there, for another term if he wants to. And if the people want him to, of course, because he has to get voted in. So, but that's not till 2028. So he's there for another 2 years, whatever happens in this case. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the media release from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. The FBI, of course, are characteristically quiet. They're not saying anything. But Nanos has been out a lot this week, saying a lot. As I say, at least 3 interviews just this week. And then these releases from the Sheriff's Department that I'm going to read out to you. What's going on? When I first saw there was a big flurry of activity yesterday, and it felt like, maybe we are actually getting somewhere. Is something about to break? That's how it felt. Is something about to break in this case? And, we thought that before, and nothing has broken in the case. Will it this time? Nancy deserved better than this. I just want to remind you about Nancy. Nancy was 84 years old. She'd not had the easiest life. Her husband died of a heart attack when she was only in her 40s. She had to bring up her 3 children alone, or finish off bringing them up alone. She had financial problems at the time trying to do that. She, of course, was a young widow. I mean, you don't expect to be widowed in your 40s, do you? But she did it, and she brought up her kids. One of them turned to be a successful news anchor on the Today Show, Savannah. One turned out to be a Spitfire pilot. That's her son, Cameron. And Annie, her daughter, turned out to be, if not a worldwide famous poet, definitely well known within her circle and within the Tucson area. So they all did well in completely different fields. So Nancy must have done something right. She brought these children up to be adults without her husband. So essentially, she was a single parent, not only trying to cope with the sudden loss of her husband, who died of a heart attack in his 40s, just like that. So not only trying to cope with that, but, financial difficulties, all the things that single parents have to face. Nobody knows what it's like, how difficult it is to be a single parent, a good parent. And single parents get reviled, don't they, at times? But, it's hard to be the mother and the father in your family dynamic. Anyway, she did it, and I think she was successful in doing it. And as she got older, she was relaxing into. She was quite politically active. She was relaxing into her golden years. She had a house that she loved, that, you know, in my opinion, was too remote for an elderly woman to live in. But she didn't want to move from there. She'd lived there for years. I understand that. I get that. You know, she wanted her independence. She wanted to be in a place that was familiar to her. And it would have been the place that she felt safe. But she wasn't safe, was she? Because in the middle of the night, on January the 30th, 31st, some man in a balaclava with a gun came into her house and took her. And we don't know why. And there was some violence involved in that because there was blood all over the porch. So blood spatter. So something happened to Nancy. We don't know if she's dead, if she's alive. We have no clue what happened to her. She disappeared. It may as well have been like abracadabra, puff of smoke. So we just need to remember that this is what's at the heart of this case. A missing 84-year-old woman that could be your mum, could be my mum, could be you one day, could be me, could be my sister, could be my grandma, could be your grandma. Do you know what I mean? This Nancy, you know, means something to everybody because everybody in their fancy, some elderly relative who lives alone and deserves at their, you know, advanced age, after they've been through the slings and arrows of life, that are, you know, life's hard and you go through all that, surely by the time you get to that age, you deserve some peace and quiet and, you know, just potter around with your plants and having a swim and watching the telly and eating something nice and having a glass of wine, spending time with the grandchildren. That is what it should be like as you get older. But for Nancy, she had that up to 84 years old and then plucked from her bed, terrified probably. And, it hurts my heart to think of how terrified you would be if you woke up in the middle of the night and there was a man in a balaclava with a gun, you know, standing over your bed. How awful. Hey, Lily. Hello. So anyway, I'm just going to say my thank yous quickly before I get into this properly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And thank you, of course, for subscribing. All the free ways you can help my channel if you want to. Thank you especially to my members and to those of you who send Ko-fis, super stickers, jewels now you can send on YouTube. Oh, look, yeah, Lily sent me a jewel. I don't think on YouTube, I don't think I can highlight it. I don't think, or can I? Can I pin it? Let's see. Might be able to pin it. Oh, because I'm not on StreamYard. Don't really understand how it works. I might be able to pin it on my phone in a minute. So, but thank you. Lily has sent me 2 jewels. Thank you. Yes, so all of you send me those things. For those of you who've bought merchandise, for those of you who've bought Ko-fis, for those of you who've sent emails, left nice messages, thank you so much. And those of you that have bought my book, I know a few of you have bought my book, quite a few actually, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, if you want to know my history, if you like, about me as a person. This is almost, well, it's an autobiography, more or less, leading up to, you know, how I came to live in Spain when I was born in a council estate in Manchester. For those of you who don't know, if you live in different countries, council estates are like the projects, you know, I suppose. Anyway, yeah, a lot of you have bought this book and left nice reviews as well, which is great. So if you have bought this book and you haven't left a review yet on Amazon, please think about leaving a review. I always forget to say that to people. And of course, those of you who want to learn Spanish, the other thing, my other life, is I am a Spanish teacher. You can buy my books. Again, all these can be bought on any Amazon site, wherever you are in the world. And I have 5 levels of learning Spanish, books that I've written over 20 years of teaching Spanish, that people tell me are easy to follow. I also do Spanish classes if you want some one-to-one classes over the internet. Again, wherever you are in the world. So I think that's the housekeeping done. So hello, you lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hello, replay crew. Thank you for watching. For all of you watch, any of you choose to spend some of your time out of your busy life with me, whether it's just listening as you're peeling the potatoes or cooking the dinner, or whether you sit down with a cup of tea or a glass of wine and watch as well as listen. Just thank you so much. Okay, so I might need my glasses for this. Yeah, they're very dirty glasses. They need a clean. They need a clean. Also, it's very hot here today. We're supposed to get a storm later. I am literally praying for rain. I'll be doing a rain dance. It'd be lovely because this is what happens in Spain. It builds up, the heat builds up, and it gets so oppressive you feel like you can't even breathe. But then we get a storm, and it's normally August actually where we get the storms. Oh, by the way, White Rabbits, it is August, first day of August 2026. Let's hope the second part of 2026 is better than the first part. Anyway, okay, so little drink, a little vape, and then I'm going to get on with this. So I'm on the Coca-Cola, so it gives you a little bit of windy pops, doesn't it, Coca-Cola? I'm not a lover of Coca-Cola, but I just fancied it. Sometimes it's quite nice and refreshing when it's hot. Anyway. Right, so first thing I'm going to read out to you is the press release that Pima County released yesterday, July the 31st, 2026. Nancy Guthrie investigation update, video and ransom note details. So not only they've released some information about the case that maybe we didn't know before, they have finally, I mean, we've seen the ransom notes up to a point because other people have released them. But now actually officially Pima County have released them, or the FBI, I'm not sure who's released the ransom notes, but we can look at them properly in their entirety. So the Pima County Sheriff's Department and Federal Bureau of Investigations Phoenix Field Office have been working together for the past 6 months to locate Nancy Guthrie. Nancy was last confirmed at her residence in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood in Tucson on the evening of January the 31st, 2026. So that confirmation must have been from Tommaso, because remember, Nancy had been to her daughter Annie and her husband Tommaso's house. They've got a young teenage son as well. And they had a games night. And then apparently Tommaso took Nancy home. And we know the garage door opened, and we presume that Nancy went into the house. But we only have Tommaso's word for it that he took her home, of course, unless she was caught on the cameras. Anyway, so that was the last confirmation. That's what they're saying here. Nancy was last confirmed at her residence in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood in Tucson on the evening of January 31st, 2026. Through our collective investigative resources, with the assistance of the private sector, we have recovered videos from her residence showing an unidentified male who knows what happened to Nancy. And we've seen those photos, haven't we, of the guy in the balaclava, and he's got the facial hair. He looks, to me, it looks like he's almost got makeup on or under that mask. He's got a little torch in his mouth. He's got great big backpack on, full to the brim with something that I've no clue what it is, but something's in that backpack. And then he gets the plants, doesn't he, and covers up the video. And anyway, we've seen a couple of photos. We've seen a video of him, but you presume that they will have more video, but we don't know that for certain. Though there is talk at the moment that they may be about to release more video. I hope so. 2 videos recovered from Nancy's doorbell camera, maybe from 2 separate days. So that's interesting. These videos are critical to our understanding of the unidentified male's behaviours and choices. They indicate he took steps to prepare for the event on the night of January the 31st to February the 1st. Investigators continue to pursue every available technological and investigative lead. However, community members remain a vital resource as we seek to provide answers for Nancy's family. We would like to thank those who have already provided tips and information. We are asking for the public's continued assistance and are confident that you can further the effort. We know there are individuals familiar with this unidentified male who may have observed changes in his behaviour around the timeline of the vehicle, the videos. And these changes in behaviours may include, now I need to go to the next one now. So what they're saying is, look out for, oh, what did I do then? This is what they're telling people to look for. Is your loved one, one of your loved ones displayed any of these characteristics? Have they changed their mood or are displaying anxiety, nervousness or irritability? Have they changed their physical appearance, hair colour or cut, growth or removal of facial hair, etc.? Well, that's Luke Daly for a start, isn't it? You know, Luke Daly, we saw in his interview, definitely had changed his haircut and had removed his facial hair. So Luke Daly that was detained but released. Unexplained injuries, cuts on their hands, bruises, etc. during the period Nancy was last seen. Have they changed their routine? Have they missed work, classes or appointments? Have they showed sudden departures from the area around the time of her disappearance? Have they been cleaning or repairing their vehicles? Have they expressed an unexplained interest or even disinterest in Nancy Guthrie's neighbourhood? And have they showed a noticeable, intense interest or disinterest in the investigation, or an unexplained knowledge of the situation? I think that's very key, isn't it? Because, you know, if you've got a famous case like this one, which everyone in Tucson must know about this case, surely, You know, because we know about it all over America and all over the world. Surely everyone, there's not many people in Tucson wouldn't know about the Nancy Guthrie case. But if somebody, if you mention it to someone, they go, oh, what case? I don't know anything about that. Or if they go, oh, I'm not interested in that. You know, it's possible that that could be a cover up for the fact that they're actually involved in it. So then it goes on, this media release, to say 2 ransom notes attached were sent to local and national media outlets that purport to have been written by kidnappers. The local CBS affiliate in Tucson, Cold TV 13 News, received the first note on February the 2nd and the second on February the 6th. These communications reveal distinctive patterns of word choice, syntax, and phraseology that reflect the writer's unique linguistic style. They also provide valuable insight into the person's mindset, motives, and the evolution of their tone over time. I think the kidnap notes are key, aren't they? They tell us a lot about this case, in my opinion. As with the unidentified male depicted in the video, we believe these distinctive linguistic characteristics may be recognizable to someone who knows or has interacted with the note's writer. A friend, family member, co-worker, classmate, or acquaintance may recognize these patterns of expression and process information that could help identify the individual responsible. In some cases, there are times when people who may have knowledge initially don't come forward. Relationships and loyalties change over time, as do people and their perspectives. It is not too late to come forward. Regardless of how insignificant you think your information may be, or whether you think we are already aware of it, please contact us. If you have any information, and then it gives the phone number. You can be anonymous if you ring 88 Crime. There's a reward available for your information, and it's a massive reward, isn't it? It's a massive reward. It's over $1 million, and it gives you the case number. Now, it's funny because these media releases that I've just read out to you, they are specifically sent from Chris Nanos. They are explicitly sent from Chris Nanos. You know, so he's put his name on it. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes he does it. I've noticed this week, suddenly he's back, isn't he, in the forefront again? Is it because now he's got a burst of confidence because the recall against him failed? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so suddenly he's all over the interviews, he's releasing these things, and we're going to read the ransom notes now. Hi, David. White rabbits. Thank you, Lily, for the white rabbit. So now I'm going to read you out the ransom notes. As I say, we've sort of seen them before, but this is the first time that they've been released officially, isn't it, I suppose? Let's see. So now the thing that I think is very important with these ransom notes, because as you know, if you watch my channel, I do not think Nancy was kidnapped for ransom. And I think these ransom notes, although whatever they did to Nancy, I do believe that, but I don't believe they're genuine in the sense of I don't think she was. They're two at odds with each other as well, in my opinion. So listen to ransom note 1. Hello, Savannah. So these ransom notes came through what's the word? Like there weren't emails sent to the media outlets. They came through their inquiries. You know, if you go on any website, newspaper website or news website, you know, they'll have a place, contact us, and you go on it, but there's not an email. It's like a portal, isn't it? You know, you go in and you put a title in of what you're, you know, what you're trying to say, or you may have a query or whatever, and you put in your name and your email address. Now, there was an email address given, but they don't seem to have been able to trace it back to anybody. Anyway, and the question or comment that they put was this. Now, don't forget, why didn't they send it? Surely there was another way. They could have sent it either directly to the Guthrie family, directly to Savannah, directly to the law enforcement, but they didn't. They sent it to media outlets. And the first ransom note, they headed it, "Hello, Savannah." So it was, this first one was directly addressed to Savannah Guthrie, the TV news anchor, famous in America. "Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. 7 days maximum. You will need to send Bitcoin in the amount of 4 million USD. So a lot of people are making a thing about this, that why they're saying USD, like US dollars, because any American would just say dollars. I don't know. I think the whole thing is fabricated anyway. Before 5 p.m. on Thursday the 5th. If payment is not received, the ransom will be increased to 6 million USD, which will need to be paid by 5 p.m. on Monday the 9th. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below. Oh, and by the way, when they first released this ransom note, they actually left the Bitcoin address up there. They've now redacted it. But a YouTuber that I follow on X, Nerdy Addict, he pointed that out, that actually the Bitcoin address initially was left there. So, you know, are they that incompetent that they would leave the Bitcoin address for everyone to see? I mean, it's been redacted now, but it was, you know, he'd managed to get a screenshot of it. So once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. So this is another thing that people are making a big deal of, because it says back in Tucson, as if she's not in Tucson as they're writing this. So that's leading a lot of people to say, oh, well, is she in Mexico? Well, I don't know. If payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. So this is the attitude in this first ransom note. It's not very sympathetic, is it? So I think the points to take from this is it's addressed directly to Savannah. It gives the 2 deadlines. But if the second deadline is not met, she'll be killed. So it's quite harsh, isn't it? It's quite, you know, not messing about, are they? She'll be killed. Your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands. So that's not very nice either, is it? Talk about scaring someone to death. Imagine someone saying that to you about your mum. Oh, your mother is aware of the fact that she's about to be killed and her life is in your hands. No wonder she had a heart attack if that's what happened. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. That is unheard of in kidnap cases. You know, this is just so wrong for a kidnap case. So they're just saying you can't contact me from here on out. Well, you know, kidnappers always leave an avenue for discussion. Always. They want their money. Kidnappers, they want their money. That's all they want. Normally, if they're a normal kidnapper, if there is such a word, they just want their money. That's all. They don't want media attention like this person does. They want to open a dialogue normally, just in case. They definitely do not want publicity. This person does everything that normal kidnappers don't do. There will be no negotiation. But there normally is a little bit of negotiation. You have to give people time to get the money together. I mean, you know, even if Savannah might have millions, I don't even know. You know, there's a lot made of how rich Savannah is. I don't know how rich she is. Probably a lot of it is tied up in property and this, that, and the other. You know, maybe, you know, sometimes people look rich on the surface, but when you look underneath everything, they're actually not. I don't know with Savannah. But, you know, it takes a time, even if you have got lots of assets or you've got money in accounts and this, that, and the other. It takes time to get that amount of money together. Do not play games, they say. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. And then they say, then there's the Bitcoin address, and then they say, she had a white smartwatch on the floor of the foot of her bed, and the white floodlight in the backyard was destroyed. So these were the two clues that led the police to believe that maybe these are genuine notes, because there was apparently her white smartwatch was found on the floor at the foot of her bed, and the white floodlight in the backyard was destroyed. Now, they've added that as a sort of afterthought. So what is it, just to prove that they're telling the truth? I don't know. Listen, I think this note does come from whoever did whatever they did to Nancy. But I honestly do not believe it's a genuine kidnap attempt. What do you all think? Hi, Pam. Hi, old hippie. Hippies convinced she's in Mexico. Yeah, what do you all think? Does that sound like a normal kidnap note? Whatever a normal kidnap note sounds like. But don't they normally say, don't go to law enforcement, don't go to the media? No, this person sent their notes to the media. And when they didn't get enough attention, they then sent their note to TMZ, which is like a gossip magazine. I'm not having it. I just don't believe it. I think it's somebody who knew Nancy, either a member of the family or anyone, any acquaintance, friend, whatever. Somebody did this to Nancy. I don't think money was any issue, personally. So that was the first ransom note. Now then, see how that's really quite harsh, isn't it? If you don't pay this money within a certain length of time, the money goes up, and then if you don't pay it within that length of time, we're going to kill her. We've told her we're going to kill her. Her future is in your hands. You know, it's very harsh, isn't it? Then, just a few days later, the next one comes in. Now, this time, it's not directed to Savannah. It's not hello, Savannah. It's not even hello. It's Guthrie family. That's who it's addressed to. Guthrie family. It's much shorter. And it's a complete change in, we've gone from, oh, we've got your mother, we're going to kill her. She knows we're going to kill her if you don't pay the money. You've only got so many days. Don't go to, the police can't help you. We're not going to negotiate, blah, blah. Very harsh kidnap letter. And now we get this one. Guthrie family. We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. Doesn't mention her name. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. So that's like a repeat there, isn't it? We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. Nobody says perished. I'm sorry, but they don't. You perish in a fire, or you perish in an extraordinary sort of event. Why would they use perished? That to me is a big red flag. I don't see that, these are supposedly hardened criminals. According to the first note, now suddenly they're using a word like perished. We believe it was heart-related. We believe it was heart-related. Why even say that? Then they say this weird thing. She's buried in nature now. Again, the weirdest thing. Some people think this was written by AI, and that's why it's come up like this. I don't think even AI comes up with things like words like perished. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. Well, what? What do you mean? Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you can all find peace. We are truly sorry. So we've gone from the hardened criminals, saying they've kidnapped Nancy, and if you don't pay up, we're going to kill her, and she knows we're going to kill her, and blah, 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 and it's all your fault, to suddenly this apologetic letter. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you can all find peace. We are truly sorry. Right. Well, I'll tell you what I think, and this is my just opinion. I think somebody who knew Nancy murdered her, and they always intended to murder her. They sent the first kidnap note because, they want to make it look like a kidnapping. And then the second note is sent. It's almost like they're trying to make the family feel better. I think this is somebody connected to the family, and maybe someone who doesn't want the rest of the family to suffer too much. Guthrie family this time rather than Savannah. We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her condition. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. So they're making it clear, as they want us to believe it was more, it was more than one person. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. She is buried in nature now. That's the weirdest thing. Who would say that she's buried in nature? What comfort is that going to give anyone? And the other thing is, of course, I think most kidnappers, if they were doing this for a financial reason, wouldn't they still try and get some money by, at least telling them where her body was? It's just they're given no opportunity. They're not saying, for a price, we'll let you know where the body is, are they? They're not saying that at all. They're not even given that as an option. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you can all find peace. So suddenly they've got the family's best interest at heart. Come on, they'd fucking not got the family's best interest at heart. Because they would have never have taken her in the first place. You know, it's a load of cojones. Sorry, but it is. I don't believe any of this. Because are you telling me that hardened kid, you know, people that are bad enough to steal an 84-year-old woman from her bed and make people suffer not knowing what's happened to her? There's blood everywhere on the porch. So, you know, they've done something to her. Something's happened to her. You know, some violence has happened to her. Um, that suddenly then they send a note like this. Like, oh, sorry. It's like, oopsie, sorry, we didn't mean for her to die. Move on. You couldn't have done anything. Now, time to move on now. Just get on with it. Come on. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody took Nancy, somebody who knew her. They took her deliberately. They murdered her deliberately, in my view. This is my opinion, only my opinion. And she was probably dead that night, but she was always going to be killed. And this second note that they sent is, I don't even, it's just to try and make the family feel better. So maybe they saw the appeals from the family and saw how upset everyone was and thought, oh, you know, I don't want the family to feel upset like that. Why would a cynical kidnap gang even care about how the family felt? They didn't care how they felt when they took their mother away. So why would they care afterwards? Why did they ever even hear from them again? You know, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a kidnapper. You know, I doubt if I'm ever going to kidnap anyone. But I would imagine if I was cold-hearted enough to actually kidnap an old lady and make her family suffer like that, and then she died, I wouldn't give a shit, would I? And then I wouldn't even bother writing a second note, because then you've got a second chance of being traced or caught. You'd just never be heard from again, would you? And just get on with your life. I don't know. So anyway, in the last appeal that Savannah made, she tried to appeal to someone, didn't she? You know, that appeal was definitely directed at someone. You know, we know you're not a bad person, basically, she was saying. It's never too late to do the right thing. Well, sort of is. It is too late to do the right thing because, you know, they did kidnap Nancy, but they can, or took her away or murdered her or whatever they did. They can make it better by giving them some closure and letting them know where she is. I mean, they could do that anonymously. There's a million ways. They could let the Guthrie family know exactly where Nancy is buried or, you know, where her remains are. There's a million anonymous ways they could do it without a chance of being caught. And you know what the reason is they're not doing that? Because wherever Nancy is, if she was found, it would offer up forensic evidence that would probably show she was killed immediately or whatever, or maybe show some drugs in her system. You know, that's something else we don't know. Was she drugged? You know, will it come up with something in her system? Because even in bones, things show up even after years. We've seen that in the Susanna, God, I can't remember his second name, Suzanne Morphew case. Her remains have only just been found and the tranquilizer is showing up in her bones. So that's why they'll never tell us where Nancy is, because it gives more forensic evidence, doesn't it? You know? So what do you think? What a contrast, isn't it, between those two notes, in my opinion? Exactly, David. Kidnappers don't apologise. Why would they apologise? Yeah, old hippie. It is reminiscent of Annie's poetry. Now, somebody left a comment on one of my videos saying maybe it's somebody deliberately trying to make it look like it's Annie. That's a possibility, of course. Everything's a possibility at the moment. I can't get away from the fact that I think somebody close to Nancy was involved in this. If not close as in family, close as in they knew her and they knew the house. Hi, Kelly. So, yeah. So now we've got the full-blown kidnap notes. How different are they? You know, the kidnap note number 1 is nothing like kidnap note number 2. I don't know. It just seems to me if I did something bad to somebody, you know, they sent that first note. It's horrible, really, isn't it? Oh, you know, we've got your mother. If you don't pay this money within a certain time, we're going to kill her. And she knows this. We've told her this. No wonder she had a bloody heart attack, you know. And then, so the note is really harsh, the first one. And then note number 2, it's like, oh shit, she died. But we didn't mean it. And we're so very sorry. And it's not your fault. I mean, it's ludicrous, isn't it? If you put that on Netflix, you know, a film, people wouldn't believe that it could be true. So, thing we're going to do now is we're going to watch Nanos's latest interview, which, to be honest, is all over the place. Why has he done all these interviews this week? Why? You know, this is an interview he's done with Fox 10 Phoenix. I'm going to have to hold it up to you there because, of course, I'm not on StreamYard, so I can't show it in that sense. But I think you'll let me know if you can hear it okay.
That is every single day being worked on, analyzed, and not just by our investigators and the FBI, who, by the way, still meet every day. They're signed, my team of investigators are signed to the FBI. So it's the Guthrie Task Force, if you will. Every day they're meeting, briefing, discussing different things in the case. But I think as far as where the
Can
case
you hear
is,
it?
we have crime labs from all around the country working together on looking at the DNA we have, and that continues. And it's important to know that these labs work well together in terms of they understand that there's rules of science that they have to follow, that those are guardrails to not just the integrity of this case, but any future cases that utilize DNA. So those safeguards are in place, and we talk to those people daily. They, more importantly, are talking with other labs around the country. So I think you have some of the brightest.
Right, I just want to put this in context. So don't forget the hair that was found at the scene. He declared, I think it was yesterday or the day before, can't be linked back to the suspect, was what was said. What suspect? The hair can't be linked to the suspect. Who is the suspect then? He didn't say that. So the hair is inconclusive. It's got no, as yet, it may turn out to be more conclusive in the future. Maybe it can be used in the future. But at the moment, the hair did not come back with any viable leads. But there is still all this DNA that's being tested, that supposedly there are 4 different people's DNA that the labs have got to separate and analyze and go through genealogical testing and this, that, and the other. So he's still claiming that they're working on the DNA.
Biggest minds, brightest people looking at all of this and working together collaboratively to try to solve this case, to get us some leads as to who may have done this. That's a piece. But just as some of the forensic data for all of the video evidence we have.
Hi, Wesley.
10,000 plus pieces of video. That takes a lot of work. And I know that people wonder, well, what do you do with all this evidence? And, you know, right now we tell everybody, I think Nancy said it the other day, we really believe someone out there knows something. Somebody knows where she is. And we need that person to call
Sorry,
us.
Didn't he say then, Nancy said this the other day. A lot of people get Nancy and Samantha mixed up for some reason.
But in the same sense, we take in all these tips, all of these bits of information, evidence, and we store it, we analyze it, we put it, everything we get is taken extremely serious, and looked at hard, but it's not just dismissed. Because I get a tip that says, hey, there's somebody that looks like this guy, we look at all of that, do all of that, and we set it aside if there's not enough to go in and question the individual or do more with it. We don't say it's at a dead end. What we say is catalog it, compartmentalize it, because later on in this case, we may find out that, hey, that person or that individual comes back to us and we go, I remember this tip. So could be a red car was seen in the neighborhood. We've got video of red cars all through that neighborhood. But maybe later on we make an arrest and we find out that that individual owns a red car. It gives us something to go back on and look. And the same goes for all of the tips as well as video evidence and DNA. All of that is where we're at in this case. It's not a standstill. Every day they are working. The ransom notes, trying to track those down and deal with that. I think people should take note that we do.
I think a shock to all of us is that those ransom notes haven't been traced yet. I think maybe we have too high expectations of the FBI, because you just think, oh, God, someone said, surely they'll be easy to find out where they've come from. But 6 months later, we still, we don't know.
Take those very serious. And if you're a knucklehead like this individual in California who just got sentenced, we're going to come after you. If we get any kind of information, we find out that you were trying to take advantage of a tragedy like this, you're going to be charged with that too. So don't do that. But yes, we do know if you're out there, you know something, don't dismiss it. Call us.
I think a big question that people have today, do you feel that you're any closer today to finding Nancy than you were 6 months ago?
Absolutely. I think every day we get closer. And that's only because of it's not just a detective team, FBI agents, hard work and their abilities to get things done, but you also have labs with some of the brightest minds, as I said earlier, that are working on this case. You have corporations that out of the blue call and say, hey, can we help you in this regard? Or maybe we could do something with this. When you have that many individuals and that much horsepower behind a case like this, yeah, it gives me great hope that we will get there. And that every day, those investigators, those labs are working with each other, talking to each other.
Very well.
I get briefings, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, but every day that team that is working hard on this case continues to work it.
You mentioned you're still encouraging people to reach out if they think they saw or know anything, even though it was way back then. Do you have a ballpark on how many leads your department is actively pursuing right now?
I would tell you this. And no, I don't have the exact numbers because those leads change every day. It ebbs and flows. Something may spark something, and we get a lot of calls on. But typically, when we first any investigation is this way. You open it up and you say, "Hey, we need your help," and the public calls us, and we're grateful with thousands of leads. In this case, it was literally thousands of leads. But at some point in time, those callers have reported everything they have, and so that diminishes. The number of call-ins kind of diminish, but something else can kick it, and next thing you know that
I do find that quite worrying that they had thousands of leads and 6 months down the line we still don't, we've got no arrests. So, and over $1 million reward offered. Nothing. It's quite worrying, that, isn't it? Makes you wonder if it will ever be solved. And Hippie, I just want to say, there was talk about Annie and Tommaso's financial problems, but I don't think there's been any evidence of that. That's just, you've got to be careful what you watch on YouTube. I can sit here and say, oh, yeah, Tommaso did this or Annie did that without any evidence whatsoever. That's what other YouTubers do, sadly. So I can't verify that. It's not verified as far as I can see. It's just YouTubers talking for their clicks. So, I personally
getting inundated again.
don't like
So
that.
that's just typical pattern for an investigation. Particularly one like this that's this high profile, we're constantly out in front of the media telling them, hey, we know you know something. Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your sister or your uncle or your best friend or your worst enemy. But somebody out there knows something and has said something. Don't dismiss that. Somebody out there knows something. We need that knowledge. We need you to call us.
So you are still getting new tips, new people calling
Absolutely.
in?
Absolutely.
Would you say that's daily?
I think so. I think I personally get almost daily text messages from around the world. And anyways, I think somebody commented about, from Ireland. Well, we don't dismiss anybody's tip. I don't care where you're from. We take it. We're police officers, and we look at it, we evaluate it, and we work it to what we believe needs to be done with that tip. I don't care where you're from. If you believe you know something, call us.
I know you've commented on this before. I want to know if anything has changed. Do you still believe that she's alive?
I get that question quite a bit, and this week especially. And what I tell people is simply this. What my opinion in that regard really doesn't matter. Because I look at it, maybe I'm just the ultimate optimist, but I see no value in telling the family or others that she's not with us anymore when I have no evidence to prove that. I have nothing. Granted, should we find a burial spot or somebody come in with remains? Absolutely. You would be the first week to call the media. Hey, this is what we've got. After the family, of course.
Bye,
but
Wesley.
If the family still believes that there's any hope, any chance, why should I dash it at? Why shouldn't I believe it? It doesn't impact the investigation anyway. We meet with these detectives pretty regularly. They come and brief me. It's not a briefing where I'm imparting this great knowledge of mine to solve this case. That's not what my role is. I look at these young men and women and go, one, I think if you could be in that room, you would be just as impressed as I am at, wow, these guys really know their stuff. These are young men and women who are way ahead of me in the game of technology that they know that
I'm going to try and
exists.
do this another way.
And I just kind of go in there and listen and watch. And what I'm really looking for is their level of enthusiasm.
Oh,
Are
that
they
might be
defeated?
better.
Do they have those shrunken shoulders? Not at all. They are so charged up, so pumped up, and I'm very proud of them. They're a good team that's working just so hard. That gives me all the hope in the world that we will find her.
I know that you said that your opinion on that, is not necessarily relevant, but you're saying that it also doesn't change the investigation, searching for a missing person versus searching for a body, or how does that impact it?
Well, no, because we have search and rescue missions all the time, and sometimes they turn into a deceased individual, a recovery effort, so those kinds of issues occur. I mean, we understand that. Operationally, it may make a difference, but I'm not the one doing the investigation. I'm not in the middle. I have to allow my team, who's very talented, very skilled, allow them to come to whatever conclusions they come to based on not a feeling, not my gut, not what the sheriff thinks or what the media or commentary, all the white noise. No, we hear that. We know it exists. But we sit there and let the facts that are in front of us determine which way we take this case. And that's not just this case. That's just police work 101. That's how we handle any crime.
So let's talk about your team. How much time and effort is this case still demanding from the department? Do you think that's sustainable long term?
Yes. What we're doing now. So originally, day one, those resources scaled, right? The media scale went from, we typically send out media releases to, I don't know, maybe a dozen media outlets in the area. That next day, there were 400 and some of them. Same with us. All of the tips and leads were coming in by the thousands. We needed more resources. FBI's plugged in day one. Other things, that's something that came up too. Was
oh God, my hands hurt.
I know that day one, when we were sent out there, before I was ever on scene, and I think I got there 7 o'clock at night. Before we even knew who.
My hands hurting.
That it was the Guthrie home. We just knew we had an 84-year-old woman missing, and the evidence at the scene indicated some violence, and thought, this isn't somebody who just walked away. So our criminal investigation team is called in. They're immediately called in, and that investigation team, the sergeant sits there and assesses what he's got, and he knows that he has access to anyone involved in our criminal investigations division, to include the FBI Violence Task Force. The FBI Violence Task Force, it's not just this kind of case. We could have a rape, we could have a homicide, we could have a shooting. We use them all the time because that's what they're there for. They have resources that we do. So day one, before I was on, their task force came out along with our detectives, and they worked that case together. That's day one. I don't make those decisions. I don't sit there and say,
yeah, I agree. Oh, hippie, he is blah, 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 blah. Word salad, he says a lot where he really is not saying much. He's always at great pains to say, oh, no, this rubbish about the rift between us and the FBI. You've got Kash Patel saying there is a rift, and him saying, no, there isn't a rift. And then they're like grown men in big positions. Like he keeps saying, oh, Kash Patel has got a big job to do. I've got a big job to do. He's always telling us what a big job he's doing, but he can't even be asked to pick up the phone and speak to Kash Patel directly. He talks to him through his interviews. It's pathetic. Grown men acting like teenagers.
Called to the FBI or not called. Those investigators do it. And why does it occur that way? One, because they've shown a level of success. We could go back to 2024, 25, even 6 months of this year. Our homicide clearance rate is 100%.
100%.
That's pretty spectacular for an age.
So their homicide clearance rate is 100%. Well, it can't be 100%. I don't believe that. But anyway, maybe they do normally have a good rate of clearing up homicides, but not in this case. Why don't he and Kash Patel appear together? This is what I don't get. You've got this ego-driven maniac going out doing it. So he's done at least 3 individual interviews this week. Why doesn't he do a proper press conference at the 6-month mark? Why not a proper press conference with Kash Patel or some other FBI representative? No, he talks to Kash Patel through this, but he's never met him, he says. Never met him, never spoke to him. Grown men with big jobs to do. Can't even be bothered to pick up the phone and speak to each other. They're both as rubbish as each other.
Of our size, some 1,500 employees that services over 1 million people, has a square mileage of 9,200 square miles. That's pretty significant. And
whatever.
For me to disregard that would be silly. I look at them and go, these guys are very good and very competent at what they do. Let them do their work, and I'll get them what they need. What is it you need? That's all I did that night. And I think, a day and a half later, we had a press conference, and who's on the stage with the sheriff? Not just the FBI agent in charge here.
That was months ago.
The FBI agent in charge of all of Arizona, right there. So I don't,
That was in the first 2 weeks of the investigation. You're talking about over 5 months ago that press conference is talking about took place. And the FBI guy was rolling his eyes all the way through it. It was obvious he didn't think much of Sheriff Nanos. So where's the press conference to mark 6 months? The joint press conference. He does talk a load of blah, 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 blah.
Well, the sheriff is pushing back against Director Patel. That's clickbait journalism. That's not what's happened. What I said was, Director Patel has a big job.
A big job.
I have a big job.
I have a big job.
He has a lot of people reporting to him just as I do. And sometimes information just is filtered. Not by anything nefarious. It just gets to me and it's filtered and it's not always accurate. So
yeah, so you get on the phone.
That may have been what happened for the director. But clearly we didn't block them. We didn't keep them out of there. We delayed calling them. That is so silly.
So you're saying that you believe you're chalking up to miscommunication specifically about one of the criticisms with your department was this 4-day delay, this number of 4 days until they were called in. You're saying that's not true and that you believe that it was miscommunication of why that's being...
Well, no, that's that's my guess.
Sorry, just one other thing that I want to say. Even to this day, that mat that is on the porch where there's blood all surrounding it, the guy was stood there with a torch in his mouth, that he probably got saliva on that rug. That rug is still there. That mat in the porch was never taken away, never. And you know what? That house should have been locked down as a crime scene. There was blood all over the porch, so it was obviously a crime scene. Sorry, I was making the computer bounce then. I was that angry. It was never treated properly as a crime scene, was it? And the rug, the little mat, the welcome mat was never taken, still hasn't been taken. And anyway, it's probably worthless now because the world and his dog has been up to that front door. But, really, that house should still be preserved as a crime scene because this case has not been solved. So it should not have been released to the family, should not be released to anyone until the case is solved. So the family, if they are involved, I'm not saying they are, but they might be, could be anyone, they've been in that house. It's just, you can do, they might have done anything. Maybe it is Annie and Tommaso. They are the favourites, aren't they? Sorry, but they are. Whether, I feel sorry for them if it ends up they're innocent because they've been reviled. But they are prime suspects. Of course they are, because they're the last people to see Nancy.
I've asked Director Patel. But what
Common
I would tell
sense.
you is, I think we had two. But in the 4th day, we already had 2 press conferences, which your office, I'm sure, attended. And you probably have video of it somewhere that shows in the background with me, answering questions with me, are the 2 FBI agents in charge of Tucson and Phoenix. So clearly, that just didn't occur. And they have been a part of this. The Violent Task Force, the FBI Violent Task Force, has been around for decades. We've been a member for decades. We use them all the time. They were used that day, not because the sheriff came and said, call the FBI or don't call the FBI. It's because we have a protocol here that allows for our detectives to know what they need and know what the resources are available to them. If I belong to a task force, and it doesn't have to be the FBI, I have DEA, Homeland Security, Border, whatever it is, our counter-narcotics task force. All those task forces are there for my team to utilize as they see fit. They make those calls. They know what they have available to them.
And what about the criticism specific to the home surveillance video? There's talk out there now that Kash Patel and the FBI is saying that there could have been more footage available if things started differently.
Well, I'm again not sure where he's coming from there, because that day when we shut down the investigation at the home, we had all of our team there.
So again, she's talking about something that Kash Patel has said, and he's saying, Well, I don't know where he's coming from with that. Why doesn't he just get on the phone with his big job to Cash Patel with his big job, phone him and say, oh, Cash, what about this? You know, why is he talking through media? It's ridiculous.
The forensics teams, they removed all that's the
Oh,
other
there,
thing. The sheriff
that's
doesn't tell
better.
them, okay, you have so much
That's
time or
better.
you're out of here. They know what they're doing. They do this all the time. The forensics teams went in, gathered all their evidence. Now they come into the office, into the building, and they sit there with the FBI and say, can you guys take this evidence and we'll take this evidence? Day one, the forensics for video, the decision was, FBI, you guys are the experts here. You got better uh, equipment and forensics analysis abilities there. Take it. And they did. We took the DNA. Oh, you kept the FBI lab from it. No, it's about sharing looking at all the work in front of you
He
and
did keep it
parsing
from
out
the
the work.
FBI.
And our lab works very well with the FBI lab. I know that the FBI lab exists, and I know they're free and all of these things.
No, you
But
sent
it wasn't
it to
about who
your
had the
lab.
better lab. It was about, we've got all this work to do. How do we
It's
parse
about
it out?
him wanting to be in
And so
control.
to say the FBI, well, we didn't get this till. No, in fact, if you remember, that video was obtained from the home, sent out, FBI did some analysis, and they were able to get, again, more big brains, corporate America, Google, others to say, I think we can help you with this. And how gracious of them. Didn't charge a penny. They took it and did that. But that takes a while. It took some while. I don't know what, you probably have better dates on it than I do. But I'm going to say at least a week in, we finally were able to get one of the videos that showed that man at the front door. I don't think it was an hour, but maybe an hour. We put that out to the media immediately. Why? Why do you do that? Every case you do that because somebody might know something. We need that.
This guy would be better off as a door-to-door salesman than a sheriff. As you say, he's all patter. He's like, he's talking for half an hour in this video. He says not much really whatsoever. The only significant thing comes out of this interview is he says that the family are still suspects.
Information. This is what we got. Here it is. Now, if we've got more, trust me, you'll get it. We'll put it out there. But right now, we just, we continue to work it together. There's great collaboration. There is no, I think I've seen comments where the sheriff is not getting along with the FBI director. But that's so silly. First of all, Director Patel has a big job. If he
A
needs
big
me,
job, he's
he
saying
knows
that
how to reach
again.
me. I'm sure of it. And if I need him, I'm sure I could call him. I don't need to call him. What I need to know is that his team and my team are working close together, and they are every day. Last question.
Make sure it's good.
Sure. I'll give you another one.
Got a few. I could spend all day with you talking questions. I know this is a broad question,
Okay.
but we're going to try and put a number on it. How would you rate how you and your department has handled this investigation over the past 6 months?
Oh, I don't even go there. Why would I? This isn't a 5-star rating thing. That's just silly. We don't do that. What we look at is what is in front of us. What are we doing with what we have in front of us? Is the work?
Yeah, old hippie, more big brains. Shame for the rest of us. We've only got little jobs and little brains, haven't we? But all the big brains and the people with the big jobs have been working on this. And in 6 months, they still haven't solved it. So, do you know what I mean? Maybe they should give it to the people with the little jobs and the little brains. They might come closer to solving it, eh?
Are we vested in what we're looking at? Do you need, for me, to my team, what do you need from me? Do you need more resources? Do you need more staffing? Tell me what you need. That's all. The rating is just silly. It's almost like speculating on things. I don't speculate on things. My team does it. We get information, whether it be a tip.
He says, trust me, often. And the thing is, as soon as someone says to you, trust me, you know you can't trust them, don't you? Oh, trust me, yeah, whatever. You'll be the last person I'll trust. Listen, I don't think necessarily Nanos is, a terrible person or anything like that. I don't know what he is, but he's not good at, he's not up to the big job. He's not up to this big job he's supposed to be doing. He just isn't. And why is he doing all these interviews now suddenly? And he's cutting out the FBI just in not doing a proper press conference.
Forensic evidence, whatever. And we look at that and we let those items of evidence and facts lead every investigation.
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
We're an agency that gets 200,000+ calls a year. And we work them.
Trust me, I've got a big job.
Great amount of care, compassion, but also due diligence, paying attention to your details, staying within the rules.
Oh, yes.
Talking amongst each other and asking those things. What do we need? Where do we go? What's the next? And they're not, just as you point out, you have a bunch of questions. My team asks a bunch of questions every day, not of the sheriff, but of each other. That's how investigations work.
Oh, no, they don't ask a question of the sheriff because they're frightened to death of him because he's vindictive.
I think I'm going to solve this case all by myself. This is a team effort. And it is, again, I can't stress enough. Why would any chief or sheriff say, yep, I don't think we're going to solve this case? Oh, yep, I think the victim's deceased. Well, you can't do that. It's silly. We don't have any proof of her being dead. What we know is the facts we have from the scene that something violent occurred there, and we are looking into all of that. And we also know and believe truly somebody knows something.
Am I allowed to ask one quick follow-up?
Of course somebody knows
the reason I ask that is
something.
because I do want to address that some of the criticism has not just come from the FBI, but it's come from the public on social media and people just sharing their opinions as well. So what's your message to them about that?
It's a shame. First of all, I value everybody's opinion. I hear it all. I got it. Sometimes you got to be a duck, right? Let that stuff roll off, because there's a lot of white noise. A lot of those commentaries. I could tell you that the sky is blue, and they're just because they just don't like Chris Nanos. That's okay. That's fine. But I can't let that.
We wanted to like you.
Some sort of distraction in this case. That's just silly. Everybody they're frustrated like some of my team is, some of the media. What has happened? What's going on? We started this conversation. Where are we at with this investigation? I know to you and the public, well, there's nothing new here. They're not doing anything. But that is so far from the truth. We just know so much more than what you know and what the public knows. And it's not because we're going to keep it a secret and there's a cover up. And I hear all that too. The sheriff did it. He's involved. Okay. What we go by is simply this. There are reasons why investigations are kept somewhat secret, if you will. I don't have the right word for it, but it really is about the integrity of that case. And the best example I can give you is this. If we're working a homicide, and the homicide is somebody's been stabbed a bunch of times, and we don't tell anybody that, we're just working a homicide. When we later on get somebody and they say, yeah, no, my buddy, he shot him 6 times. We know stuff that the only person who knows is the person who was there. That guy was never shot 6 times. So we now can say that guy's discredited. I don't know if that's a great analogy for you, but it is about, we owe it to not just...
It's nearly finished, I can promise you.
Suspect.
How long have we got of this crap?
In any case...
Oh, only 2 more minutes.
On the guardrails. Protecting it from any kind of bias that might exist. Protecting it from coulda, woulda, shoulda versus actual facts. And that's where we're at.
Oh, my God.
I get it.
I think I preferred it when he wasn't given any interviews.
Entitled to it. have no problems with that. I wish they'd be nicer sometimes, but it is what it is. I do believe there's a lot of people here.
I agree with that, David. So he goes, so we put it over there. It's like he's trying to speak to an idiot. He thinks you're an idiot or a child or something. So we take this evidence and we do it over there. It's like, why?
Who understand and know that my team is a good team. They work hard.
I'm sure they do. His team, I'm sure they work hard.
Thank you so much for your time.
I got a real this week marks 6 months, that's why we're here. Savannah Guthrie put out a social media post again. Does your department have anything to do with that? Did she contact you to kind of what to say, how to?
So,
or do you have any response to what she said? Did you see?
Well, my response is exactly what she said. We agree. Somebody knows something. We need that person to call us.
Sorry.
But as far as
her
remarks, those are her remarks.
Someone knows something.
She's a victim. Her family is a victim. That whole family. And they have access to this sheriff. They have my cell. I have their personal contact information. But no, we don't call every day or do that. But they do have a team of investigators, the core group, and their supervisors, their commanders, to include the FBI, who does communicate with the family pretty much on a daily basis, if not at least a weekly basis. And it's always an as need. If you need something, call us. And if we need something, we're calling you. The family's been very gracious with us. They're hurting too. It's devastating. I can't imagine.
Right. That's practically finished now. So now, at some point, he has said this week, the family are not cleared. Nobody's cleared. And just because the people that were detained were released doesn't mean say they're cleared either. 3 of them are suing the Pima County Department for false detainment or whatever, So we found that out this week. What else? But as far as we know, Tommaso is not suing Ashley Banfield for saying he was the prime suspect. That she said because that's what the Pima County Sheriff's Department told her. Why isn't Tommaso suing? And where are Annie and Tommaso? So the only people that we've seen, and where is Cameron? The only people we've seen doing appeals lately have been Savannah. Is that because the FBI feel that it is connected to Savannah? Why only Savannah? Where's Cameron's appeals? Where's Annie and Tommaso's appeals? Why aren't Annie and Tommaso at the shopping centre giving out leaflets? Where have you seen our mother, etc.? Is Tommaso still at work? What's all that sort of secrecy? I just feel, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, because I've covered enough missing persons cases. Most of the families of missing people, they're constantly on the social media. Where is our loved one? Not Annie and Tommaso. I've never seen them appeal. Why they're not appealing in public? I just don't understand it. Why, if that was my mum, and that happened sort of nearby, say here in Spain, I'd be down the shopping centre handing out leaflets to everybody. Have you seen this woman? Do you know anything about this case? Have you heard about this case? I just don't get the way they've sort of disappeared. Hi, Quizzical. Oh, Savannah just made another Instagram post. Do you mean literally today? So I did show the one that she made a couple of days ago. But why aren't the others making appeals? I know Savannah obviously is the famous one. So, maybe she's the logical choice, especially as maybe the FBI have told her she may have been the likely target. Yeah, no, I showed that that Instagram post, the last one that I can see on here. We looked at that, I think, the other day. But we'll look at it again. It's always good to look at the. Oh, I can't share it on here because I'm not on StreamYard. I can do it on here. Yeah, we did. I think that's the one we have looked at. I think I don't, unless I'm missing a new one. I can honestly say this is the weirdest case I've ever covered. Nothing makes sense in this case. As I say, I really feel this was never a kidnap. That's what it feels to me. The fact of saying it was a kidnap is just a way of covering up that it was a murder. Is it that one? Ah, yeah, this is our beautiful mum. Yeah, she has put a new one up. Thank you for that. Let's see. So she's put a picture of Nancy up. Put a picture of, yeah, there it is, the one with a photo of Nancy. And she says 6 months ago, someone took her out of her bed in the dead of night. We have lived every moment, every breath, and every heartbeat in agony and despair ever since. She's quite often talked about agony, hasn't she? Every day, this is the post. Oh, you can't see it on there. Every day we wake up and try to be strong and go on, because that's what our joyful and resilient mum taught us to do. But make no mistake, our hearts are in ruins. Cam and Christine, Annie and Tommy, Mike and me, we spend every waking moment thinking of her, longing for her, looking for her. Do they know? Looking for her. Who's looking for Nancy? Who is searching at the moment for Nancy? Law enforcement aren't searching. Who's actually out there in the desert looking for her? I would be out there. I would be. If that was my mum. There is a hole inside us that can never be filled. There is an ache that cannot be softened. And there is a determination in us that cannot be quenched to find out what happened to her, so that we can give her the dignity of a proper goodbye, a celebration of her remarkable life that she so deserves. We are begging for help. We are desperate. We need someone to come forward. Someone knows something. Someone suspects something. Someone recognizes the writing in the ransom demand. Someone has noticed something different, strange, troubling, or just unusual. Perhaps with someone they deeply love. Perhaps they're afraid to come forward. Perhaps they're angry or upset for being in this situation. There is a way out. Tell what you know. You can do so anonymously. The reward is available. There is a way to end this situation and do the right thing. Now, I'll tell you what, if I was this family, and I know this is exactly what I would do. I would take that $1 million reward that nobody has claimed, and I would hire a search team, a private search team, to go out and search that desert. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how long it would take. Why are they not out searching? I don't get it. Even remember the John George case, the case in Spain here, that family, the George family, they paid for an Irish search team to come over and search for their son's body over here in Spain. Why aren't the Guthrie family, why are they not paying for a search team to go and look for Nancy's remains? According to this post, they seem to have accepted that their mum is deceased. We are real people facing real grief, doing the best we can, and counting our many blessings along the way, most especially the prayers and love from good people which we feel deeply. We need your prayers, and we've been praying, and I pray for Nancy every day. We need your kindness. We need the good to be stronger than the evil. If you are following this story for entertainment or for profit, you are not on her side. You are part of the harm perpetrated against her. What's that? Is that like a slant at people like us? Because we're following it on social media, because I'm making YouTube videos about it. Am I following it for entertainment or profit? Now, or is she talking about she didn't like the YouTubers that were out, the streamers that were outside the house. She had one arrested. He's actually gone full-blown psycho about Savannah, calling her a bitch and God knows what. That I will not stomach that. You can't do that. But I think, she means probably JLR, criminal network, Ted Invest, those ones that have been out there. But do you know what? I know what she means, and it must be horrible in a way. But if it weren't for them that were outside Nancy's house, there's been months that Nancy's name would not even have been spoken. And they have made a lot of money out of it, and they have. But I don't know. I'm very conflicted about it, and the criminal network guy, he was arrested just for being there on the street. I don't agree with that. He was on a public street. But and apparently Savannah had something to do with that arrest. So that's who she's probably aiming it at. If you're following this story for entertainment or for profit, you're not on her side. You are part of the harm perpetrated against her. We will never stop looking for answers, and we will never stop looking for the light. We will always be hoping and praying and believing in the best of our world in spite of the circumstance. This is what our faith makes possible. Please bring her home. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? There are lots of missing people out there who don't get any attention, but, I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, is it any attention better than no attention that keeps, I say for months now, if it weren't for those streamers, Nancy's name would have been forgotten because it wasn't being talked about, was it? What do you all think? Let's have a look. Hi, Louise. Yeah, do you know, Kelly, that's a very good point. At the end of the day, Savannah, she's a news reporter herself. If this was anybody else, a high-profile case, she'd be all over it. She interviewed the Epstein victims, didn't she? She's a journalist. So thing is, how do you differentiate between good journalists and bad journalists? Are all social media people bad? Am I bad because I'm talking about it? But I think we always talk about it because we genuinely care about Nancy being found, and then there's been all this conjecture about Tommaso and Annie. But is it unfair? At the end of the day, we don't know who did it. And Annie and Tommaso, they are prime suspects just because they're the last people to see Nancy, and they can't avoid that, but their behavior has made them look even more suspicious, covering their faces, being aggressive towards people. If you look into any crime story, high profile crime story that's been followed, the ones that are aggressive, like look at the Brian Laundrie, the dirty laundries, look at the way they acted. What happened? Brian was guilty. Normally when families start to behave aggressively towards the media, social media or otherwise, it's normally turns out that their loved one was guilty or they're guilty, because if you, I don't know, if you've got nothing to hide, you'd want the attention, wouldn't you? You'd want to control the attention, of course. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I mean, to me, I think if it was my loved one, I would want attention. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be accused of having done it if I hadn't. But I would just come out and talk to people in a normal way then about it. It's like hiding your face and being aggressive towards people is, to me, is not the way to be. That's how the Laundries acted. That's how most bad actors act. So it makes people look even more guilty, in my opinion. And, you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose your attention either. It's true. Any family that's lost someone, Gabby Petito's family, the families of the Idaho 4, any high-profile crime case, the families even of the victims, and it's not right, but they do get trolled and they do get bad attention. But I think most people who understand social media, they will understand that. It's not right, but that's the way it is. You'll get 90% good. That's how my channel is. Get 90% positive comments. I get lovely support from my chatters over all sorts of things. And then you get, a small percentage of people who don't like you, but they still watch you. I mean, that's what always amazes me. You get people trolling you, and then a year later they're back on there and you think, oh my God, you're still taking an interest in what I'm doing. Why don't you just not watch? And even then, even the trolls sometimes do leave nice comments. I've had some nice comments about my sister, about the death of my sister, from people that I know are recognised trolls on my channel, that have normally not got a good thing to say about me, but they've come on and said, oh, sorry to hear about your sister and things. So that's quite nice. Do you think people just troll just for something to do sometimes? I don't know what it is. Anyway, thanks for letting me know about that, Quizzical Girl, because I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that new post. So that's where we are. So nobody's cleared, according to Nanos. The ransom notes have been released in their entirety, but there's such a big dichotomy between ransom note 1 and ransom note 2, to me. First one's very harsh. We've got your mum, and if you don't pay within a certain time, we're going to kill her. She knows that we're going to do this. It's all in your hands. Really quite cold ransom note. And then the second ransom note, oh, sorry, she's dead and we're so sorry and there's nothing you could have done and we apologise, and just rubbish. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as far as I'm concerned. Those two notes, the dichotomy between them is too big. Anyway, so yeah, even the ones that were detained and released, they've not been cleared. Nobody's cleared, which is fair enough. I mean, really, nobody should be cleared until the perpetrator is found. How can anyone be cleared? Even Savannah, even me, could have been me. I could have gone off to Tucson and done it. No, everyone's a suspect until the perpetrator is found. And, not me really, because I'm right away in another country. But you know, the family, especially, of course, they're going to be suspects. To me, that's just logical. It's not cruel. It's not, it's just logical that they're going to be suspects, because in these cases, you know, statistically, it's probably over 90% of the time it is the family. But we don't know that it is. But until the actual perpetrator is caught, of course they're going to be under the radar. You know, I think you'd have to accept that, wouldn't you? JD. Who's JD? Oh, you know what I'm like with initials. JD and his mother. Do you mean Luke Daly? To me, Luke Daly is a big favourite. I can't get away from him because, you know, when you were saying about when Peamar County Sheriff's Department was saying, look at people who change their appearance. Well, Luke Daly has completely changed his appearance. So I do think he's a likely, yeah, LD, yeah, Luke Daly. I do think, you know, and of course he was detained, but he was released. But he did change his appearance, didn't he, for that interview with Brianna Whitney? He shaved his hair, shaved off his beard moustache. He wore all those clothes, and it was, you know, 90 degrees. Brianna had a tiny little sundress on. He had like loads of clothes on. He was like sweating. So, yeah, I do think there's something suspicious about Luke. I don't think it's anything to do with the first guy, personally. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they say, isn't it, Quizzical Girl, that maybe the second note was written by a woman. That's why it was gentler. Yeah. Well, let's hope that this flurry of activity, now it could be that it's just a flurry of activity because it's 6 months down the line and they feel like they've got to do something, but maybe there's more to come out. And personally, I would love to see a proper press conference, not an interview with Sheriff Nanos, but a proper press conference with the FBI. So instead of Sheriff Nanos saying, oh no, you know, I've got a big job in Kash Patel's got a big job, and no, I've never spoken to her. You know, that could actually interview together, you know, speak to each other like normal grown men with big jobs. Don't understand all this communicating by interview, by internet, you know. So no, I haven't got a pet birdie, old hippie, but there's a lot of birds outside. That's probably what you can hear. No, I've got 3 dogs. That's what I've got. No birdies, no pussycats, not now. And all the birdies are outside, but there's a lot of birdies here. So, yeah, very unprofessional, Quizzical. Okay, I'm going to go. So thank you for being here with me. Special thanks there to Quizzical Girl for letting me know about that new post from Savannah. Special thank you to you, Lily, for sending the jewels. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for your comments, for interacting, for watching. Don't forget to like. Please leave your DNA on the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please leave your DNA on the subscribe button. And I will see you really, really soon in the next video. I've got other cases that I want to talk about. This one has taken over this morning. I've got a few British cases that I want to talk about. And we're still waiting for the Samantha Murphy trial, which could start at any moment. It's still going through pre-trial hearings. There must be a massive amount of evidence in that Samantha Murphy trial. It's been about 6 weeks now of evidence being presented, you know, to see if it can be used at trial or not. When will that trial ever get underway? But anyway, thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.